And I'd also like to see, well, how am I doing against my forecast? And of course, I could see it from this graphically, but another way to do it would be add the display percent of forecast. So now we're going to look at revenue, forecast, and percent of forecast. When I say finish, so now we see revenue, forecast. Now percent of forecast is at the bottom because while the revenue is up around 100,000, the percent of forecast is closer to 1. So I'll do one more thing here. If I go into my y-axis, by default, everything is displayed with 1 scale factor. Turn off that restriction, and now I'm able to see revenue, forecast, and also see how at any given point I'm doing against my forecast. I can always save my dashboard. There's a permissioning scheme, so you can save any number of dashboards, and you can determine, is this just a personal dashboard or is it shared across the enterprise? And if it's a shared dashboard, I can specify who else is allowed to use this dashboard. Now this is the designer. This is the view that a dashboard designer would see. If I click on the viewer, so now we're going to go in a mode where we'll see what would the end user see of this dashboard. Well, the end user doesn't see the different display components and the menus cleared up, and you can't get to the properties, but you do have access to the various graphs and charts that we've displayed. So now, if I look at something such as revenue, and a user clicks on that, well, these are the dimensions we chose. Maybe I want to see it broken down by country. I want to see my top 6 countries. I want to see them in one of the following formats. Choose whatever you like. Maybe I want to see them in a stack bar. So now the end user can drill down into that. Similarly, the user can drill down into any of these graphs. If we go down to the details, recall that I mentioned that once you drill in from the country to the city and month, well, I also turned on the ability to see the individual orders that make up the aggregate statistics. So if I click on a month, I now see a display of each order that made up that aggregate statistic, and I see all the fields except for the employee because I turned that one off. And of course, we had this other display of revenue, forecast, and percent, and as we've seen previously, you can always click and drill down into any one of these. So what I've tried to show here today was, first, I showed a pre-built dashboard that showed we can deal with traditional BI metrics, we can deal with real-time data, we can deal with process-oriented data. I also showed an example of how you can use that capability to take the information that Metastorm has natively and augment it with other data from elsewhere, from other systems within your environment. So in this case, we took the revenue coming from something similar to what I just built here and brought that together with the Metastorm event activity, giving me the ability to look at revenue per event and even break it down in the same way we can drill into these to drill down and break that down. So it might be revenue by event type, by user, or any dimensions you want to look at it by. Once I did that, I showed you behind the scenes what it took to do that with the Metastorm data. But then I reinitialized my system and in somewhat, probably just over half an hour, illustrated that we could go from raw data in Oracle, SQL Server, and Excel to define what we want to pull out of that data, define what are the metrics we want to generate from that, and then build a dashboard from those metrics. So that's what I had planned for now. At this point, I would pass it back to Kevin and open up for any questions that people might have.